Hey, look, there. People probably can hear us now.
All right.
So we're going to start this all over
yeah,
again.
yeah.
This is a lot of fun. Technical difficulties, always great. Always great. I do love it. I love technical difficulties, but that's okay.
Yeah.
We're going to start all over, and we're going to play the song and everything, and then we're going to jump right into it. So just bear with me as I get reset here, because that's always fun when that happens, but that's okay. We will work through it, and we will get started, and you can hear everything we said now, so that's good. So here we go.
Yep.
You're listening to the Bulldog Hour, getting you inside the Wilson football program with weekly game previews, recaps, highlights, and interviews. Now, here are your hosts, Joe Mays and Justin Raffoff.
All right, now we're here, and everyone can actually hear what we have to say. So that's good. Everything that we just did, dress rehearsal. So now it's time to go. So
we're just practicing.
Yeah, we're warming up. But yeah, sorry about that. Technical difficulties here that wasn't allowing the stream to get the audio. So little switch, and we have that adjusted now. So we're here to talk about it. Episode 5-8 of the Bulldog Hour, where we are going to recap the win over Central Dauphin and preview the game against Mifflin. We've got highlights. We got everything coming at you, and we're excited to talk about what was an impressive opening victory for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun on Friday night. We always talk about it. It's a lot of fun when we're able to do interviews after the game. And we got some interviews on Friday, so I'm sure we'll have some of that later in the show. But yeah, it was a great way to get off to a fast start. And Coach Thomas mentioned that in his interview that we played a few weeks ago.
Yep.
Dealing with fast starts, not just in games, but for the season. And that kind of goes hand in hand. And that was something that came up on Friday night. And it was good to see, and it was a lot of fun. So,
well, we had just gotten done talking about when I realized that, hey, no audio is going out to anyone. People can see us, but you can't hear us. We were just...
They might like it that way.
We were just kind of laughing about how people are starting to recognize us, which is funny, because people have known that we've done this show for a while, but it just really started to take off this year, where we're getting a decent amount of live views and a lot of views after the fact and downloads of the podcast. I just had someone say this week that they appreciate us doing the podcast without the video, because people can listen to it, while they're at work or while they're driving to work, things like that. So yeah, so that's fun. But I mean, this show isn't the only thing that we're recognized about. It's the only thing that I get recognized for, but there's other things that Justin gets recognized for. No. So, I think it's
we couldn't have done this.
It sounded great, but I could have used a little more cowbell. So, let's take it again. And Gene?
Yeah?
Really explore the studio space this time.
You got it, Bruce.
I mean, really explore the space. I like what I'm hearing. Roll it.
1, 2, 3, 4. All our times have come.
Guys, I'm sorry. Stop. Bruce, can you come back in here, please?
Fellas, now, we've just wasted 2 good tracks. This last one was even better than the first.
Well, it's just that I find Gene's cowbell playing a little distracting. I don't know. If I'm the only one, I'll shut up.
Nah, it was pretty rough. I mean, I could pull back a little if you like.
Not too much, though. I'm telling you, fellas. You're gonna want that cowbell on the track.
You know what? It's fine. Let's just do the thing.
Okay, roll it.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So that's like a 4-minute video, and we won't play the whole thing. Hopefully that was working correctly.
Yeah,
We're not still having issues.
I don't even know who that was.
You have no idea who that was, huh? No. I'm sure a lot of you have seen that skit from Saturday Night Live. It's one of the most popular, at least from the last, 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
Incredible cowbell skit. And, someone had to assume the Will Ferrell role, and it's a good thing that, that we know
that someone did
that fits into that. And you just seamlessly stepped into that.
This is how things work. When Mr. Keener asks you to do something, you just can't say no. And then a buddy of ours, Adam, jokes about the part there where just kind of hitting the cowbell in Andrew's face. He's like, that's not you acting. Like Adam was saying, he's like the other part was acting. That was not you acting. So, and it's true. We joke about it, but people did bring it up at the game multiple times to me.
Yeah.
And all weekend and at church today. And
well, it's not going away anytime soon.
No. And someone actually brought that up to me like immediately after, like, you realize people are going to see that. I was like, yeah, I kind of gave that some thought before, like, but so be it.
Yeah,
it was fun.
Stuff.
It was a lot of fun.
Stuff.
Yeah,
so,
it was a lot of fun.
Well, I mean, we're here to talk about the football game, so let's get to that and pull up some statistics, some highlights, and all that good stuff that we were given as a result of the victory Friday evening at Gursky. Wilson welcomed the Central Dauphin Rams. And I'm now forgetting what I have and haven't said in the intro, so I'll just go back and say that Wilson hadn't beaten Central Dauphin since 2014. We beat them twice that year, regular season week 3, and then in the district championship game.
We beat them twice that year.
Yeah. Well,
was that one of the first years we played them non-league?
It was the first year we played them non-league.
It had to be close to
it. Yeah, it was. And we were able to win both times. The first one was at Central Dauphin, and they were mad because a double pass touchdown got called back for being an illegal forward pass near the end of the game. We ended up winning like 16-14 or something. I feel like it was close. It was within just a few points, and then we didn't. I don't want to say we dominated in the district championship game, but we took it from the beginning to the end, much like this game, but more comfortable than the game we're about to talk about.
Yes.
And then we lost by a point in 2015, hung in there, but got outplayed in both 2016, 2017, and in 2018.
The year the ball bounced off, the ground, like an incomplete pass.
Yes, it was. Yeah, that
was not fun.
And then we had in 2018, last year when we were at Central Dauphin, is when they had that. They called the Elijah Morales kickoff return touchdown back because of either like a hold or a block in the back that was like 30 yards behind where he was at the time.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. So all great stuff. All great memories.
All good memories.
All good memories for sure. But
a lot better memories from Friday night.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So Wilson won 21-13. And it was youth night. A great time was had by all.
There was a good crowd there on Friday night.
Yeah, well, actually,
beautiful night.
Oh no, you were up in the box. I was like, were you standing there with me? No, you weren't. You were filming. I was standing there with I think both Justin Burke and Corey Greth, guys that we coach at West, were standing next to me, and it was during the second half when, within a few plays of the ref ruining the 40-second clock transmission device.
Oh, gosh.
And there were a bunch of delays trying to get that fixed and whatnot. And I think it was after Central Dauphin had maybe kicked their second field goal, maybe it was after they scored a touchdown. I don't recall because they were about to kick off right to left if you're with your back to the press box. And, they're waiting, and people are talking. Like, the Central Dauphin players literally turned to us and were like, do you guys know what's going on? Like, why are we waiting? So I had to tell them. And then the kid turned to me. He's like, do you guys usually have a crowd like this? But I couldn't tell if he thought it was small or if he thought it was large. I was like, this is a pretty good crowd. I was like, usually the only bigger one is going to be Mifflin. And I was like, we have to go there next week. And I was like, oh, okay. But it was like, is this a large crowd to you? Is this a small crowd to you? I couldn't really gather that. But, these are always good games because they're between two great programs, two tough teams. But this one was fun because we got the win and we got to see some exciting plays, which we're going to get to just shortly. But statistic-wise, Wilson really, without blowing them away on the scoreboard, Wilson was in control of this game.
Right. I honestly think they were in my mind, so not looking at the specific plays, but in my mind, there were two plays where that kind of even skews the statistics towards it helps pad Central Dauphin stats a little bit.
Yeah,
in regard
two huge plays.
There were two huge plays.
130 yards, I think, between them.
Right. I don't mean to take them away. They made great plays, but you take those two plays away.
Literally half their offense on those two plays.
Right. The stats would be down a lot. So I saw the stat that they threw for 243 yards against it. But like you just said,
130 of them were on two plays.
130 of them were on two plays, and they had a couple others that added to that. So they had some chunk plays there. But what stuck out to me was the rushing, right?
Right.
And I saw this a number of times.
The roles were reversed from the last 3 years, I'd say, because 2015 was just a really hard fought game. 16, 17, 18, we got beat up and dominated in the trenches, and they were able to pound the rock throughout the course of the game, and when they needed to get conversions, they were getting it. But the roles were completely flipped Friday night.
Right. No, absolutely. And we knew, we said last week in our preview, I said that was something we were going to need to be able to do, is be solid in the trenches, and we were more than solid in the trenches. We did really well. So it's a lot of fun when you know this is what we're going to need to do, and you're able to go out and do it.
Right. And Wilson doubled up Central Dauphin in first downs. Wilson gained 18 to Central Dauphin's 9. Rushing yards, 183 rushing yards on 49 carries to just 49 for Central Dauphin on 23 carries. So they were barely getting over 2 yards a carry, which is phenomenal against a team whose bread and butter is the running game.
Oh, yeah.
We talked about passing yards. Wilson only ended up with 82, but they didn't need it in the end. They didn't have to pick up big chunks of yards. And when they needed to convert through the air, they were able to do so.
Yeah, they were able to get some passes, at key times. And that's something that we knew, again, that's going to need to come along. But it was effective and efficient, which is all you can really ask for.
Absolutely. And I know you mentioned this, might have been pre-show or could have been our false start part, but Central Dauphin 0 for 10 on third down? Was it over 10?
According to...
yes, over 10.
Right. I was going to say, according to the guy from Central Dauphin, Eric Thomas, he had it listed at 0 for 10 on third downs. When he said that, I was like, no way. And then when I thought about it, I was like, they gained lots of yards on first down or second down, but we really... 0 for 10 on third down is unbelievable against a team like Central Dauphin.
Mm-hmm.
That's unheard of. And that tells a big story right there.
Right. One of the big things though for Wilson was the third phase of the game that sometimes gets overlooked, and that was special teams.
And that was huge.
It was huge, and we'll get to the big splashy play, which was literally happened in the first 90 seconds of the game.
Right. But honestly, in almost all phases of special teams, and again, it's not like Central Dauphin is a slouch in that. They were booming field goals.
Yeah.
They could kick field goals. They did really well in that regard. So it's not like they have no ability there. But Wilson didn't kick a field goal, but we didn't attempt one.
Right.
But other than that, we kickoff, kick return,
especially kick return,
punt and punt return.
Yep. Because
all were tilted in our favor.
And it was the punt aspect, but not so much there was the one punt that was downed at the one or whatever it was.
Yep.
But the two punting situations that ended up getting key first downs on fourth down.
Oh yeah, that too.
One sealed the game, right at the end. That was
the other one led to a touchdown.
Right. Yeah. So amazing for that to all work out. And as you'll hear one of our interviewees say that who's in charge of Wilson special teams? Coach Doms. So it's like he knows a thing or two about football.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, a great all around team performance. Really everything that people maybe thought was just coach speak, players speak, 1 week at a time. This is what we got to do. We got to win in the trenches, things like that. It was completely true. We got to take, we got to be serious about all 3 phases of the game. We got to win in the trenches, and that's what happened. And that wasn't more evident than in the fourth quarter with the game on the line. They went from giving up a huge pass play, stopping them on downs at the goal line to get the ball back, then traveling all but the length of the field running over 9 minutes and converting on fourth down to get to the part where you could actually kneel to end the game.
Right. It was unbelievable.
That was one of the most fun fourth quarters I've had in a long time.
Yeah. That was one of the most fun non-scoring drives.
Yeah, right. It didn't end in points. I mean, it ended in a victory, so that's even better.
The one that comes to mind, and it wasn't that style at all, but a big one we had last year was at Manheim Township when we were able to convert that long pass to, I think, Elijah, and get the long first down and kind of flip the field before we had to give the ball back to Manheim
that was
Township
to Isaiah.
Oh, Isaiah, yeah.
So, but yeah, all around, a great game by the defense, especially if you take away those 2 huge plays.
Yeah, and
we'll see those. We got highlights to show
you.
And
the first one, we were really close to making the
he
plays.
He threaded the needle. You will see. I grabbed the end zone camera view because I was like, that was close to being tipped or intercepted, and it's very close.
Right. So
hats off to him. What a game he had.
And he's a sophomore.
Yeah, he's a sophomore.
He looked really good, and we were told he will be composed, and he will, he's good. He's the real deal there, and I would certainly agree with that. He did his part to help shoulder the load for Central Dauphin on Friday night.
But they set the tone defensively early that they weren't going to get pushed around. This is a Rams team that was returning, I believe, 3 starters in the offensive line. 2 of them are going Division I, including to Air Force. They were bigger in height and weight, but the Wilson team was as strong, if not stronger.
Right.
And what we saw in the fourth quarter, they were better conditioned and had better endurance, and that's what really mattered.
Well, and remember before the game, it was interesting. I didn't know this. I didn't look into this beforehand, but last year it sounded like when we were talking to Eric, it sounded like Central Dauphin guys pretty much went a lot of their guys in the trenches went only on one side of the ball last year, and he didn't think that
other than spot duty
that was going to be the case as much this year. So it was just interesting. Like, I didn't know that. But, and again, I don't know the specifics here, but that could be a factor in playing into that fourth quarter.
Absolutely.
Also, when you look at, it starts to add up when you have all those first downs and you have the ball for long periods of time and you're out there for a while, you just start to wear down a little bit.
Defensively speaking, Troy Corson led the way with 8.5 total tackles, 7 of them solo. He also had 3 pass breakups. So right there's someone that could be
including one in the end zone,
considered a player of the game right there, because that's not even counting his offensive contributions, which includes a touchdown reception. Yeah. Mason Leonard, wow, what a debut for him, the speedy junior who, he had varsity time last year in mop-up duty, but he was counted to play both ways in his first varsity starting at defensive back with Matt Fry out with the broken jaw. He also saw a lot of opportunities in the backfield, including on that fourth quarter drive, and we'll see a bunch of his rushes coming soon. On defense, Mason had 6 total tackles. Then, you get a whole bunch of people with 5 and 4 with Coper, AJ Futrick, and Lockhart, who had a sack and a few tackles for losses, and he had one big hit early in the game that helped set the tone. And obviously, he also contributed out of the backfield. So, but before we get into the highlights, what we talked about it last week on the show on and within the interviews of positions that had a lot of depth or positions that maybe needed someone to step up. What did you see Friday night in the first game? Were any of those confirmed? Did someone surprise you?
Yeah, so a couple things. I liked what we saw from the offensive line. Obviously, we talked about that before. I'm sure we'll probably get back to it when we're watching some of the highlights here. I was pleasantly surprised with the defensive line. Now, I know there's some overlap there, but the way that front played, like we said, that to hold them to 40 some yards rushing, I think it was
48 or something like that.
Like that's unbelievable. Like I don't wrap and I think it's safe to say, well, I don't know who Central Dauphin plays every game the rest of the year. I know Harrisburg is going to be tough.
They got Berks Catholic next and Manheim Township the week after.
So, but even still, I find it hard to believe they'll only rush for 40 some yards in those games. But you never know. I mean, Manheim Township handled their business. They have Harrisburg in their league, and Harrisburg just went down and held Coatesville to 7 points. I think it was 14-7 that game, or 13-7 or something like that. They won.
Oh, I didn't realize. I had not heard that result. So.
Yeah, they went down to Coatesville and beat them
again.
After Coatesville had the revenge factor from the state semifinals.
Wow, that's shocking to me.
Yeah. Another just real random note: Southern Columbia won their game like 36-0 yesterday.
Yeah, down in South Carolina.
Yeah. But anyway, so I would say defensive line really stood out. Secondary did really well, I thought. They did give up a couple big plays, but like you said, it's a little deceiving because some of those were just really good plays.
Well, the first one was he threaded the needle, and then because of the defensive alignment, the two people that went for the ball to deflect it or intercept it, there was no one back there then to catch him. And then the next one was just a
Troy
fluky.
Almost caught him from
I know. I was watching the highlights as I was putting it together. And then the second one was a bad pursuit angle on a short pass.
Right.
And he just was able to take off.
So, like, those are correctable things. Mm-hmm. It's not like, we blew our coverage and they had somebody wide open. That wasn't it. They made the play and went their way. Like, that happens in the course of a football game. There were also some big ones where I saw, like, where the ball's up in the air, but like our corners didn't panic. You know what I mean? Like, they waited, and when the ball came, they made the play, or they made the hit and knocked the ball loose. That's huge.
Yep.
Like, you can't panic and just grab the guy or hit him early, or no, just
let it play out.
Trust yourself. If you've done what you're supposed to do, trust your positioning, trust all those things, and make the play when the ball gets there. And number of times our guys did that. Even if you only do that a handful of times throughout the course of the game, like that's just the way it is. They made some great catches too the other night.
They did. Offensively speaking, rushing wise, we talked about getting to the 183 total yards, but it was nearly evenly distributed here, with Avanti getting 77 on 19 carries, 68 by Mason Leonard on 10 carries, and then 43 by Caleb Brown, the quarterback, on 17 carries. So they rushed the ball 49 total yards, 49 total times, with Jaden Jones, the sophomore, also getting a carry.
But like, I think about that. If you're able to give Avanti 19 carries, like when you watch him play defense and watch some of these runs, like, man, let him run into you 19 times, because good luck with that. I'm not. Oh, man.
Yeah, it's tough to fathom. Fathom.
He's delivering the hits whether he's running or on defense. Right. Like, he's delivering the hits.
Well, that's what you want.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that just helps fuel when they put Mason in there, and he was able to just man. He he looked quick.
Wilson Thunder and Lightning, going back to the Giants days of Tiki Barber and Ron Dane.
Oh gosh.
So, passing wise, Caleb Brown had his debut at quarterback. He was 10 of 13 for 82 yards. He had the touchdown pass to Troy Corson, who led the way of all receivers with 4 catches for 32 yards. Avanti also had 2 catches for 15. Eli chipped in 2 for 4. And then a couple big ones. Adrian on a 4th down conversion. Adrian Santana picked up 16, and Brady Gibble caught 1 for 15. But the return game, we talked about it, was clicking. And on kickoffs, there were a couple great returns, both by Troy and Mason, to set up drives.
On the flip side of that, on our kickoffs, Jack, I think, put it in the end zone twice.
Well, at least once, if not twice.
I think he did it twice, and then once we had good coverage. Because he kicked it really deep.
Yep.
Like, that's exactly what you want to happen. Like, that's a huge turnaround. They couldn't kick it into the end zone, and our guys were turning it out to the 40 each time, and we were pinning them inside the 25 each time. I'll take that all night.
So great third phase. So we talked about a lot of these plays a little. Let's take a look at them, and we'll try to chip in some commentary where we can. But let's take a look at the highlights from Wilson's victory over Central Dauphin. So obviously the first play, because it happened near the beginning of the game, was Ethan Capitano's punt block, scoop and score, and he would not be denied. Great way for the Bulldogs to start, get on the board, 7-0.
Yeah, that was exciting.
And now we're going to see, this is, some time has passed here, and this is Brady Gibble's one reception. It was a little controversial. We couldn't exactly tell if he had held onto the ball through the catch. It bounced up at the end. It was caused by the ground, but again, if you're talking NFL rules, I don't know if that one stands. So, of course, Central Dauphin wasn't happy about that. There were a couple miscues early in the game by quarterbacks and running backs and some fumbles. And, beginning of the season, new starters, got to work that out. I would say, I want to say, well, against a better team. Well, Central Dauphin's a darn good team.
Yeah.
So,
and honestly, that's one of the things Caleb mentioned. Caleb mentioned, he still was, that adrenaline was still really firing at that point.
Yep.
And, those are things where, now that he has at least a little bit more experience, you hope. But look, we field the ball at the 15 there, as opposed to kicking into the end zone.
Right. And I think it hasn't buffered, so that's always fun.
Right. Even though it's been pulled up.
Even though it's been up here for the entire time we've been broadcasting. So, I don't know. Let's see.
More technical stuff. You love it.
Oh, it's perfect. I love it. It's the best part of the show. Is hopefully that'll stop thinking and will eventually play.
But even, like you can see, that's a minimum, that aspect of the game was huge, especially when you're coming down to this, where a team like Central Dauphin is going to make you earn every yard that you're getting.
So we're going to back out of this. I'm going to try to tweak it and see if.
And as they are, kind of going through, so if we can start at the 40 instead of the 25, well, 15 yards against Central Dauphin, that's a big deal,
right?
So as we're working through these things, being able to start with that great field position due to the great returns, being able to pin them back when we have to kick off,
right?
That's a huge deal over the course of those, 6 or 5 things. If you look if it's 15 yards each time, that's a huge difference in yardage.
Absolutely. So look where Troy got that one out to, and then later on the drive, the Bulldogs got down to the red zone. They're facing, I think, was this on 3rd down?
Yes.
And nice little pass. Troy up and over, gets in. Bulldogs on the board again. Go up 14-3. Now this is that first fluky long pass here, and you're just going to see that Max Mosey, the Central Dauphin quarterback, is going to thread the needle to, I believe that's one of his running backs put out wide, number 34, Tim Smith. I believe that's him. Look at that. He went right between Futrick and Hoekstra. Here, I'm going to run that back. That's
so close to being
crazy.
Tipped or picked.
Well, that's not right. That's also not right, is it? Here we go. So just watch where he puts this. The sophomore quarterback just threads the needle. I mean, it's just a little 5 yard in, something like that, 6-7 yards, right between the two outside linebackers, and then unfortunately there was no one back there to pick it up because of the alignment. So
that's just a good play.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy, but. We got to see, as expected, the legs of Caleb Brown really bailing them out when they needed it to. And we mentioned that he was 3rd on the team in rushing. Then we also got to see him hook up with Troy Corson. We already saw the touchdown there. We get one, and Troy's vision there in the field, knowing when to cut back because of the bad angles for the Central Dauphin defenders. And now we start to see the running game get going. And here is one of Leonard's earlier carries. He's able to pick up. He had, I think it was 5 or 6 rushes of 10 yards or more. And here's Capitano off the edge on special teams again, almost blocking a second punt.
And it's not a great punt then.
Because of the pressure.
Right. So you block one of those early on, that can have an effect the rest of the game.
And now we're going to see an unfortunate incident in the game in which let's watch that again. After the punt attempt by Central Dauphin is nearly blocked. Flip the script now, and Central Dauphin has the ball again, and we're going to see Rams' probably best overall player, two-way player, Nick Chimenti, has the secondary beat but he runs into the back judge, which I'm pretty sure probably saved a touchdown.
Probably.
The Rams did continue to drive, and they kicked another nice field goal.
So...
And at this point now, I believe it's 14-13, I think. It's hard to tell on the scoreboard.
Yeah, I think.
But here we get to see another nice kickoff return by Mason Leonard, and he gets the ball out close to, if not to, all the way to the 40. And we're going to see some nice running here by Avanti. But unfortunately, he's going to get the ball stripped, and that was one of the problems that I mentioned earlier. Was the fumbles, and it went around across the board, and there were even a few that Wilson recovered. And now we're going to see the first fake punt, wide open, Caleb to Adrian in the middle of the field. They definitely saw something when they trotted out their quarterback. Yeah. For punting, which is just one benefit of having Caleb as your punter. You can pretty much fake whenever you want to.
Right.
And now, again, we're seeing good running by Mason Leonard, setting this up. And this is the first play of the fourth quarter now.
Right. And being able to convert on fourth down is huge. But being able to continue that down and then turn that into points is even bigger, you know? And that's the other part. When you're able to effectively run, now all of a sudden they start butting on the running backs, and that opens it up. And
that touchdown you thought was, okay, we're in good position. Just don't let any big plays. And then you get another big play from the Rams' best all-around player, Nick Chimenti.
However, big play to not give up and let him get all the way down for a touchdown.
Because it leads to this.
Right.
A quick handoff to the fullback. And is that Avanti that's holding him up, letting him in?
I believe so.
And you can see he eventually gets in, but they had already whistled it dead.
Yeah, they whistled it dead quick.
And now you're going to see the beginnings of the 9+ minute drive.
Right.
Started off with Avanti, would not go down, fighting for extra yardage. And if you're holding on to the ball, that's fine.
The line and running back set the tone on this drive early.
Oh, absolutely.
They were ripping off 8, 9, 10 yards of
And I mean, right there, Avanti got another, 12-yard
hit
carry.
At like 3 or 4 yards.
And fighting through it.
Getting like 5 or 6 more. And the line keeps going. The running backs keep going. It was a lot of fun to watch.
And after they were successful with Avanti, they gave him a bit of a break, changes pace. They go to Mason. There he gets 11, 12 yards. They come right back to him again after losing yardage on a penalty.
They had 2 guys in the backfield on the backside. That's designed. Like, that's how that was supposed to go, but they couldn't get him.
And now is the fake punt that is essentially going to ice the game.
And they
that
were
one goes
safe.
to Avanti.
Like, they had, they maybe just not safe, but
they were just really well executed fakes.
Yeah.
Really, really well done. Really well drawn up. It was impressive. It was very well done. And
it was a great job by Avanti too, getting that ball, because he caught that ball still probably like 9 yards short of the first down.
Yep.
He didn't mess around. He caught the ball, turned upfield, and went right past that first down marker. Yep. Like, can't mess around. You're not trying to score a touchdown there. I mean, if you score, fantastic. But we need the first down. First down ends the game. A touchdown doesn't end the game. Touchdown means you have to get the ball back.
Right.
I know that's a little crazy, but like, we've seen that multiple times. The first down was really the best option there.
Absolutely. So because it was a victory and a hard-earned one, we absolutely wanted to talk to some people after the fact. We threw a few out there to grab, and then one just kind of fell into our lap as all the linemen had just passed us, were about to pass us. So we said, hey, let's talk to you guys since you
guys were awesome.
As a collective unit, because it's hard to single out individuals on the offensive line. But them as a unit who were challenged after the last 3 years of kind of getting pushed around by this team, especially because a lot of them played last year.
And knowing, like, that this team's going to come in and try and be more physical and push you around. And they're bigger, you said. They're, more highly touted, I guess.
Yeah.
They've got some of those D1 recruits and stuff. Hey, we're big and strong too. Let's show them what we got.
And, it was pretty evenly matched for a large part of the game. Wilson had the upper hand, but they didn't exert dominance until that fourth quarter.
Right.
And when they got in control, they were in control. So it was a lot of fun, and you're going to hear the excitement in their voice, including from John Ventura, who's very reserved and was incredibly nervous when I sat down with him to do the player interviews. And he kind of took the lead here at the beginning, but it's fun to hear from all of them talk about it. So,
and they should be fired up.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was an amazing performance.
Amazing performance, key. And let's listen to what the 5 of them have to say. So we got Sal Puglisi, John Ventura, Adam Venino, Anthony Coper, and Nate Keller. All right, so joining me now, you might remember them from our first interview episode on the Bulldog Hour, is the entire starting offensive line for the Wilson Bulldogs, all seniors, and a huge part of the reason that Wilson got the win tonight. Guys, congratulations, beating Central Dauphin, opening the season with a win. All you were able to do was run for 183 yards against Central Dauphin. What did it feel like to get in there and get the game going, especially in the second half, get those rushing yardage when you needed it?
It was amazing.
We knew it was going to be in the trenches.
Yeah, we knew
in the trenches.
We knew there were going to be a challenge, so we just had to put our minds into the game the whole time. We never lost focus.
Yeah. A few big guys up front, so we knew we had to get the job done up there, get a few good drive blocks in there.
Yeah. Never give up, and in the end, man, you've opened the holes for everyone. We saw big runs from Avanti, from Mason, Jaden, a couple carries in there. Great team effort, and then your quarterback, who we'll talk to momentarily, also picking up the slack. What does it feel like to go out there on fourth down when there could be a punting situation, but you know that there's also a chance you guys are going to go for it? A little bit different than what we've seen the last few years.
Yeah, we got so many running backs back there. We know if we open a little hole, they're gone. We know we got that. We just got to open that hole. We trust our running backs all the time.
Right now, I know a few of you playing both ways, defense. Guys played amazing tonight. Just, a couple big plays, you take that away, and you completely shut down a Central Dauphin offense that has been a bit of a problem the last few years. What was it like in the trenches on that side of the ball?
Pretty nasty.
Yeah, it was nasty, but amazing.
Got a few
stand your ground.
We put that work in all summer for this, so it was just it's great to be able to come out here and show all the things we did this summer.
Especially this team whooped our butt past Keller and
4 years.
John, 3 years they've been here, and us too. So it was great to come out and just drive the ball down the field.
One thing I was thinking about was the other day, the sophomores now, the last time we beat Central Dauphin, they would have been in 5th grade.
Yep.
So I was thinking about that. So
back in 2014.
It's too long for this program.
Well, it's a chippy game, but it's a team that you could see again come playoff time, and I think you would welcome the rematch. So thank you guys for joining us, and good luck next week against Mifflin.
All right, thank you.
All right, so yeah, definitely excited to talk about their performance, which it was a great performance there at a clutch time.
Yeah,
they came through,
and that's the crazy thing. You get the ball at the inside the one, your own one, with 9 minutes left, and a lot of teams are just thinking let's just get out. We could run half the time off and punt it.
Try to get it to midfield.
Try to get it to midfield, and then we'll just see how it goes. If we can run this under 4 minutes or under 5 minutes, we'll punt. That'll be fantastic. And they just did the job, and they took it, and we didn't have to give the ball back. Now, there was the fourth down play at the end to make that, but you're set up in that situation, and that's because you were able to just impose your will for the first 70 yards. I almost made it a whole show without knocking something over.
Almost.
But, yeah, almost.
So next up, we're going to talk to the guy who kicked the season off in spectacular fashion with the first touchdown of Wilson's 75th season. Here's what Ethan Capitano had to say to us after the Wilson victory over Central Dauphin on Friday night. All right, now we're back with our second interview tonight, and it is with junior defensive end Ethan Capitano. You're here tonight, just because you got the scoring started for the Bulldogs this year. On Central Dauphin's first offensive possession, they go to punt. You block it, you scoop it, you score. Just take us through the play. What did you see?
It was kind of frantic at the beginning, who's in, caution, calling different plays, and they let us in. And I just saw that gap open, and I just went for it. I saw him, I was close enough, and he went to kick it, and I just jumped up in the air and blocked it. I'm gonna step out here so that we can get you on the microphone. So, is this something that you were practicing religiously? Were they telling you could let loose and go after the ball? Oh yeah. I'm just that crazy DN who rushes the passer and makes mischief in the background.
And you like that role, right?
Oh, yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Now, there was another one down here a little bit later that we thought you got pretty close to. How close were you to getting a second one?
I was pretty close to that. I was joking. We need to practice more on diving.
Okay, diving?
Yeah, diving more.
Now, and who will work with you on that?
hopefully the defensive end coaches, but I think that's more of a special team.
I was
going
to say, it's a special teams area. And who's your special teams coach?
Coach Doms.
Coach Doms.
Yep.
All right. Well, congratulations on your special teams touchdown and a great way to start the season. And good luck next week against Mifflin.
Thank you very much.
All right. So, Coach Doms getting dirty doing the special teams jobs, which is great. But what a performance from that unit. I mean, we talked about it already, what they were able to do. They've got to be happy.
Yeah, and Ethan has he has quite the speed there for a defensive end. I know defensive ends are fast, but he took second last year, right, at counties in the 100, I think. I think maybe to Elijah.
He beat Elijah in one of them. I mean, I don't know what meet it was.
I thought that was one of the meets they had early in the season.
Okay, was it? Okay.
I think Elijah won the county title, and I think Ethan was second. I'm not 100% sure about that.
Have that speed coming off the edge.
The fact that he's in the conversation, and then it's not like he was super wide on the punts, but man, you leave that unblocked.
Right.
He flew through there. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the first one, it felt like he could have run past that if he wanted to, or if he wasn't careful. Like, he could have run past it because he was back there so fast. But.
Right. So we have one more interview to get to. Again, none of these are very long, but we want to make sure we grab a few players to talk to after the game, since it was such a fun way to kick off the season. And who better to talk to than the newly minted starting quarterback Caleb Brown. So here's what Caleb had to say to us after we caught up with him after the game. All right, our final interview of the night is with Wilson's starting quarterback, junior Caleb Brown. Caleb, just take us through, what were you feeling before the game started, being able to start the game at quarterback?
Before the game, I was anxious. Just wanted the first snap to happen. First two drives, I was a little shaky. Had the ball, the one fumble. What else? I got stuffed short on 4th and 1. But after that, I just relaxed. I believed in myself, and then we just didn't look back. And then final outcome, we won.
Yeah, that's all that matters, right? Yeah. Getting that W. You guys really came out in the second half, started to calm down. Things slowed down a little. Once the fourth quarter got here, everyone buckled up. Defense had the great stop, and then you orchestrated the drive from the 1 all the way down the field. Great RPO play calls, great handoffs to Avanti and Mason. And what was it like to have that running game clicking on that final drive?
I think it's huge to have running backs like Avanti and Mason, because it changes the pace of the game. Because like Avanti's the power runner, Mason, he's the speed guy, but at the same time, Mason's stronger than people think. So he could break tackles and he could slip through the small gaps.
Now, on your 2 fourth down conversions, were they called fake punts or are they just a play call?
Doms, he throws up a number.
Okay.
And then whatever he throws up is what we run.
Okay. Now, is punting an option or is it always a play?
If it's a bad snap, then punt's
you
an
know
option,
what to do.
Yeah.
Okay. And the first one you hit Adrian Santana. Next one was to Avanti. And, they looked from our vantage point to be wide open. Is that just something you run in practice all the time?
On the first one, I saw the middle of the field was wide open, so I knew Adrian would be open, so I hit him. And then on the second one down here, I saw they had people lined up in the middle, so I knew Avanti would be open outside.
What was it like to get that rushing touchdown?
That was huge because a lot of people wanted me to get a passing and rushing touchdown, and it was just huge.
Hey.
I was excited.
Well, you got it. You got one. The course in. You took one in yourself. Yeah. Help Wilson win tonight, 21-13 over Central Dauphin. First victory against the Rams since 2014, and what a way to start the season.
Yeah.
So best of luck next week to you and the guys when you travel to Shillington to play Mifflin.
Yep.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. So got 3 interviews in. Glad we were able to talk to those guys. We'll have to grab a coach after the next victory. And, but what a way to start the season. So final thoughts on the win over Central Dauphin.
It was a great all-around effort. Kind of like we talked about after the Parkland scrimmage, there were lots of positives. There are certainly things to clean up and to improve on, which you would expect after week 1. So it's one of those where it's a great win and it's an important win and it gets them off on the right foot and everything like that. But that's behind us now. I hope they enjoyed it yesterday into today. I'm sure they met for film this evening, and I hope they're ready to go and get back to work tomorrow, which is kind of leading into where we go next. But, I like what I saw. Hopefully they can build on that as we move forward.
Yeah, for sure. And what do you think? Where should we go with our Bulldog Hour player of the game for week 1?
Oh, man, you are putting me on the spot. I thought you were kidding. I thought
no,
you had one
I'm
picked
absolutely
already.
No. I had not picked. I don't even have the image ready. I'm
gonna
going to
try
have
and
to
make
do
me
the
guess.
image afterwards. No, this is us right here. Just figuring it out, because there's a lot of splashy plays, but I don't want to award it to someone for just the single play that stands out, because obviously Capitano's play was ginormous.
Yeah,
that is a big
like,
play
in a single play that's there.
But overall, all around, who was the guy that was most impressive? We call it just player of the game because it's value sometimes is defined differently. So who was the one that stood out, I think, top to bottom? I have two.
I have two as
well, so one is a single person, and the second is a group.
That's exactly what I have. It's going to be the same too.
Okay, well, the group obviously is the offensive line.
Yeah.
I think we may have given it out to a positional group possibly twice. I know we did it once against Manheim Township, at Manheim Township, I think back in 2015.
Okay.
We gave it to, I think it was the offensive line then.
Probably.
So I definitely think that's on the table for this week, is the offensive line. My individual player, I don't know, maybe we won't line up, but talking about statistics and contributions offensively and defensively, and especially being able to come back into the game after an injury,
right,
I would say Troy Corson is someone that I feel could be individually.
So that doesn't help narrow it down at all.
No, it doesn't help narrow it down at all. So, and my dad actually just texted me, said, "How about the defensive line?"
I thought about that too.
Yeah, we focused a lot on the 5 on the offensive line, but we kind of touched on it with how they were able to limit the Central Dauphin running game to a very low yardage output.
To be honest, if I have to pick one, and it's not to discredit the other one, but if I have to pick one, I'm probably going offensive line in this one, just because for me that 9-minute drive at the end when you want it, like that's what you want. You want to not give the ball back, and they did everything they had to do at that point, along with playing well the rest of the game. Like they played really well the rest of the game, or before that. And then that 9-minute drive at the end, like that's one of those things where, like, I hope that's the launching point for bigger and better things as the season goes on. But like
dominate,
that's still one of those moments where we could be looking, and that's huge. That 9-minute drive. There are other big plays. We talked about those and other big things, but that kind of pushes it to the line to me. 9-minute drives are rare.
They're very
9-minute drives
are
very rare in high school football. And 9-minute drives to kill the clock to win in a 1-possession game are even more rare. So that just kind of
why don't we do this? Why don't we leave it up to people watching? Leave it in the comments.
I like that.
Now we're going to narrow it down to offensive line, defensive line, or Troy, because I think those are the 3 that are on the table.
Right.
That's where we're going to go. So those are the rules. You have 3 choices. You can go with one of the 2 trench units, the offensive line or the defensive line, or you can give it to Troy Corson. So let us know in the comments, and once Justin and I talk about it and we see what people think, we will announce on our social sites who is the Bulldog Hour player of the game for the week 1 win over Central Dauphin. But let's focus now more on next week, game 2. Wilson's traveling to a familiar place, Shillington, where the Bulldogs didn't have luck 2 years ago, falling in the opening game of the season at that point.
For us.
Well, yeah, true. For us in 2017. They got down early, big, fought back, thought we were going to pull it off. Weren't able to do so, but that showed kind of the resilience that 2017 team had. And hopefully better luck this time. Go back to when we played there in 2015 and 2013, both victories for Wilson. And Mifflin, they're expected to be, kind of what they've been for the last, 13, 14 years, decade plus. They've been the best team not named Wilson in Berks, the best Berks League team. They are, I believe, since 2000. let's see, 2011 or so, last 8 seasons, according to Mike Drago's article, 50-2 in Burke's section play. They've won, I think 9 of the last 11 titles.
Right. And there were some really good Exeter teams in there.
Yeah.
Weiser was good last year.
Yep.
But it's pretty crazy.
They, and they're returning their starting quarterback and their main running back, Nick Singleton, Colby Reeser at quarterback. So they're expected to be very good once again this year under head coach Jeff Lang. They did start the season with a loss. They hosted Cedar Cliff, and fell to the Colts.
So they're going to be fired up.
So now they're going to be mad. The last year, Governor Mifflin
need extra for Wilson Mifflin,
right?
Like that, but.
Last year, Mifflin finished 7-5, but they went 5-1 in the league, only losing to Conrad Weiser, who won the Burke Section 1, and they Singleton gets all the pub because he's the big guy. He's the Division I running back. He's only a sophomore this year. And he's just going to keep getting better. They are playing him on defense this year as well, in the secondary at safety. And according to Drago's preview article, some of their other offensive players to watch are splitback Eric Veal, splitback Brandon Strasser, back Jaden Quills, tight end Cameron Stewart, center John Diaz, tackle Dominic Shady, and tackle Stephen Van Pelt. You're also going to see a few of those names on the defensive side of the ball, but adding to that would be end Devontae Phillip, second team All-League linebacker, who we already mentioned, Brandon Strausser, Cameron Stewart again, and Eric Veal will be playing safety. But, what else does there really say about Mifflin? Just because they had a coach change a few years ago, nothing's really that different. They're still the same Mifflin team. They're still Wilson's main rival. It's always a heated contest. A great game. Wilson honestly has dominated the series for quite some time. There's a few years that Mifflin gets their W. We just mentioned 2017. It happened then, and that was the first time since 2011. And everyone remembers what happened in 2006 when they beat us twice, including in the district playoffs. But by and large, over the last 30 years, when it was played, because there were a few years that it didn't happen, Wilson has controlled this meeting. But it's really one of those sports cliches where when these two teams get together, all bets are off.
Oh my gosh, yes. You look at it, Wilson was able to do really well in stopping Central Dauphin's run game. Well, you better be ready because Mifflin's going to be able to run the ball, or going to want to run the ball. So we need that. So that's what we were referring to it, especially as we were wrapping up the Central Dauphin talk. We saw a lot of great things and a lot of things that I was excited to see, and some development even from a week before when we saw the scrimmage. But as we move forward, that's great, but that's done now. It's time to kind of move on to the next thing, and that next thing is getting ready for Mifflin. It's going to be a different look from the offense. And like you mentioned, they have some of the athletes at different places where Nick Singleton, you obviously need to give him the due attention, and make sure that you are ready for him, because otherwise he's good enough. He's going to make you pay.
Yep.
But you can't singly focus on him every time, or other guys are going to burn you.
Right.
And that's
Strausser, Stewart, Veal,
right.
Those are the guys.
That's the beauty of that system, is
not to mention Reeser.
If you are not disciplined and you are too focused on one man, someone else is going to burn you. And that's where you got to make sure you do the film study, you do your job. We talked about this a lot this week with some other things, not Wilson High School football, but with some other things where it's great if you think you can make the play, but you need to do your job. If this is your role on this play, do that, and expect everyone else to do their job, and then the defense as a whole will make the play. But you can't just run around and try and freestyle, against a disciplined offense like Mifflin's going to run. You need to make sure that you are filling your role on defense. And we saw a lot of that in against Central Dauphin. We're going to need to see even more of it against Mifflin.
Whenever you return your starting quarterback and big time running back, a lot of good things are going to happen,
especially in an offense that features the
quarterback and the running back doing most of the job on the ground. The issue that Mifflin has had, at least on paper this year, was replacing a bunch of linemen.
Right.
They lost a lot in the trenches.
Now have a game experience.
Right. And they lost their speedsters outside. So they have the skills in the backfield. It's can they put it together in the trenches and then find that deep threat on the outside that's going to keep teams honest.
More power to them if they can put it together in week 3. That would be
That's
fantastic.
fine with me. Always, that's fine. Hey, we're big, Burke's proponents. Once we get to the playoffs, we want Burke's teams to do well.
Yeah, honestly, after on Saturday.
Really,
on Saturday.
yeah, really Saturday. Burke's teams can win as much as they want.
Yeah,
really has no impact on us as long as Wilson wins Friday night.
Yeah, honestly, it does nothing but help us if they win a lot of games after this.
Please
weekend.
Keep winning.
Yes.
I say the same thing about Central Dauphin from here on out.
Right.
Keep winning. Win that mid-pen. That looks great for us.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But I think, I just mentioned sports cliche, and I'll go right back to it. And we already talked about this earlier because of the game against Central Dauphin. This game could hinge on who wins the trench.
Yeah.
And the Wilson line is flying high right now. They have to match that. They cannot take a break. They have to give it their best effort every single game and every single play for that matter, because it hinges on that.
Yep.
And you can start to really gain steam if you can put a second game to match your first.
Right. When you start building and not just getting individual pieces, and that's I feel like that's kind of where we've been the last few years is we were getting lots of individual pieces. Like we'd see flashes of great teams the last few years. We saw flashes of great teams, but it would be something here or there that just prevented it from getting over that hump. And I feel like last Friday, we saw a lot of great flashes. We saw a lot of good pieces, and they went together and they performed and were able to pull out a great win. But now let's get beyond games. Let's look at this next game and start to get pieces together for a season. You beat Central Dauphin. Let's follow that up with another good performance against Mifflin, because it's going to take a good performance because they're a good team. Yes, they lost their week 1. I don't really know a whole lot about Cedar Cliff, but they're usually a solid team.
They won their section of the conference last year. They were picked to finish second in the conference this year. They had a great returning running back. They beat up the Mustangs last year, and we were all like, "Wow, 30!" They got housed 30-0. Mifflin performed better this year,
right? So
but again, is it one of those? Is Cedar Cliff worse and Mifflin's better? We could go on and on with comparing teams and years and eras, like things like that.
Right. So we're not going to focus on that. We have to just worry about the things that we can do, and that is to try and build off of last week. Don't even try and go out and be just as good as last week. Try and build off of last week and be better than that this week. And if we do that, then I'm confident that 1, we'll be fine, and 2, if we aren't, there's nothing more you could have done. If you do your best and it's not good enough, there's nothing else you could have done. Right? It's when you don't do your best that you're left wondering, oh man, I wish it would have gone this way, or I wish it would have gone that way. That's where we come to this point where let's build off it. We were able to build from the scrimmage into week 1. Let's build from week 1 into week 2, because then you start getting into something. Then you start getting into start to see where some of this potential may be.
Absolutely. So we didn't do it at the top of the show, so we're going to run through it really quickly here. Just the housekeeping stuff we always do. I do want to say thank you to our show sponsors again, May's Sandwich Shop, and I had right after we had broadcasted last week, I was notified that we had our second anonymous donor for the year. So we appreciate them getting back on board. Wish we could, say who it is, but we'll respect their wishes and keep it private. But we do appreciate everyone that helps us get this show off the ground, and they have been a supporter for a long time. So we thank both anonymous donors, especially the one that decided to re-up for the year. So thank you very much. We appreciate it. Our next live show, next Sunday, September 1st. Next Sunday, September 1st. And we will do the exact same thing we did tonight. We will recap the game against Mifflin, and we will preview Game 3, which will be at Springford. And that game, unless something crazy happens, at Springford will be my 100th game to photograph.
There you go.
So right there, I get my own little century club there, 100th game photographed. So that I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be a lot of fun. And before the game, it was on the board and it was mentioned by Wayne Sear, and we took a moment of silence prior to the game against Central Dauphin in memory of Greg Barnett, who passed away in May. Assistant coach of the team, and
he would have been fired up about that line play.
Oh yeah, he would have been.
Oh,
yeah. Well, and I heard multiple players just reference how it wasn't the same on the sidelines with him not being there. Like they went through all the Gregisms that they weren't able to hear, and it just, they were just kind of reminiscing and missing him. So it was a great tribute to Greg, and we miss him, and this season's for him. So a quick reminder of the rest of the schedule. With the first third of that almost done.
Yeah.
So after the Mifflin game this coming Friday, that first column is over with. Heat Week gone, camp gone, scrimmage gone, Central Dauphin victory, Governor Mifflin. It's the big one.
Let's get a clean first column. That would be nice.
It would be excellent because the Parkland scrimmage was great. Obviously, the Central Dauphin game was wonderful. Let's make Governor Mifflin. Let's go 3 for 3 there.
Oh my gosh!
And then you got the meat of that schedule there in the middle.
I'd say
September 13th and September 27th, and then October 11th. Those home games. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Got a lot of good football happening at Gursky this year. So, and don't forget, last thing, obviously, just want to remind you about the 75th season events. Friday, October 11th against Warwick is the title team reunion event at Gursky Stadium. We're recognizing the 69, 79, 89, 99, and 09 championship teams. And then the next day, again at Gursky, 6 o'clock kickoff for the alumni flag football game. And then any past football personnel are invited to an evening reception. Tickets for both of those events, the game and the reception, will be going on sale in the next week or two. So stay tuned to all of the social sites for information on that. But I think that's about it. Justin, you got anything else to add before we go?
No, it's just we mentioned it before. It's a lot of fun when things go well on Friday night and we get to do interviews. So keep that up.
It's first time in a few years we got to start the season
with one. Yeah,
start the show.
But from a serious point, it was an awesome win, and they should be proud of their performance. That's a heck of a win on Friday night, and. But you know what? Mifflin is a different game altogether, and I'm hoping that they are able to kind of, use the Central Dauphin as a launching point, and not just settle for we did great. No, let's build off that. That'll be even more fun.
Yeah, well, we see the coaches say celebrate Friday and Saturday, Sunday. There's time for some reflection, and then we'll say as soon as the Bulldog Hour ends, it's the next week. So what? Right now. It's Mifflin week.
All right.
It's Mifflin week. So, all right. We thank everyone for tuning in. We'll be back a week from now, hopefully talking once again about a Wilson victory. So, for Justin Raffoff and the entire Wilson football program, I'm Joe Mays. And remember, go Bulldogs.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Bulldog Hour. Want more Wilson football? Follow the show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud. Or visit www.bulldoghour.com. The Bulldog Hour is a featured program on jmnjrradio.com.